This is my Mk5 VW Golf GTI. Earlier this year I bought this car for £2,800 and frankly, it's brilliant. This is a Renault Sport Clio 197. Coincidentally, the owner of this car recently bought it for £2,800. Both cars have 197 brake horsepower, are about the same age, front-wheel drive, and sporty. But don't be fooled, these are two very different cars.
Now, 6 months ago when I was deciding what my next car would be, my short list of two was actually the GTI and the Clio 197. My plan had been to test both, see which one I like, make my decision, but here's what happened. I tried the GTI first, fell madly in love, bought it on the spot, just threw money at the guy and drove off. And today we're going to find out if that was the right decision. Was I too hasty? Should I have tried the Clio beforehand? Let's find out. Now, while this car is quite similar to mine on paper, there are a few key differences that are jumping straight out. First one is an overall sense of sportiness. This car is firmer, louder and more rattly than my GTI. Less grown up, if you will, which, you know, in a hot hatch, not necessarily a bad thing. This one actually doesn't have the cup chassis, so you can get your Renault Sport Clio firmer than this if you really hate your own spine. But the most noticeable difference from the get-go is that this car is naturally aspirated, and what that means is that there's not that much power load down. You've got to manage your gears a little bit better. It's not a bad thing, you're just expected to try a little bit harder. There's a lot to like about this car. The sportiness is lending itself to this road that we're on. I'm going to admit it, this is more of a laugh than my car would be on this road. It's a go-kart, it's such a go-kart feel. I like the steering wheel, it's leather bound, unlike the GTIs, which other GTI owners can confirm this. The Mk5, everything's really expensive feeling, and then the wheel's wrapped in cling film, it's horrible. You've got a nice leather wheel here, getting lots of feel through it. I should address the elephant in the room. It's quite loud, this car. The owner has put an exhaust on it. It's a tasteful one, if you ask me. Not sure how much his neighbours like it, but I'm a big fan. Now, there are a few things about this car that I'm not so certain about. First one is the looks. This one in particular is actually a really nice spec, but generally speaking, I just don't think the 197s look that sporty. If it wasn't for the kind of weird rear diffuser situation, you'd never know that it was the Renault Sport. This one is optioned with this wing, which a lot of them had, which is terrible. I also have a slight problem with the interior in these cars, which is that they're shit.
But these are two very nitpicky issues on an otherwise brilliant car. So what's the verdict then? Having driven the Clio, am I filled with regret?
Nah. 5 seconds back in the GTI and I'm pretty sure I made the right choice. I massively enjoyed that Clio today, more than I thought that I would. And I'll admit it, on the right bit of road, it's a little bit sportier, it's a little bit more fun. But this thing is no slouch. I thought that the GTI after that Clio was going to feel heavy, sluggish, boring. It's not. It's still quick. It's just as quick. I don't live out here. I spend half of my life stuck in traffic doing 5 miles an hour. So what matters to me more than the Clio being a little bit sportier is the fact that the Golf is way more civilized, that it feels twice as expensive inside, that it's so much more comfortable, that the seats are so much better. Also, and again, personal preference, I prefer the power delivery in this car. I like the turbocharged engine. I like that there's more power lower down because it's great for, you know, hooning past London bus drivers, all of whom are mental. You know, I said this when I reviewed my GTI. This is the only cheap driver's car with no downsides. Having driven that fantastic little Clio today, I'm more sure of my choice than ever. GTI?